The circuit Zandvoort is a track that was heavily renovated and adjusted before it came back to the Formula 1 calendar in 2021. The last corner in particular had huge banking installed to accommodate the speeds that F1 cars can carry and to make overtaking into the first corner a little bit easier. As a whole, the circuit is incredibly fast and flowing and retains much of the character that the older iterations of the circuit had. Despite its much faster layout, this is a very high downforce track with downforce levels similar to tracks like Hungary. Now I'm going to jump straight into this Zandvoort track guide for F1 24 and show you some tips and tricks on how to be faster. Turn 1 around Zandvoort is a long 180-degree right-hand turn, fairly reminiscent of the longer corners at Hungary. You'll want to try and carry a high minimum speed through this turn, and you can overtake around the inside and outside, giving you a few possible lines to take. On the approach, you'll want to be braking around the 75 metre mark. In F1 24, I like to look out for this patch of brown grass and use this as my reference point. Brake hard at full pressure, shifting down to third gear as you rotate and trail brake in towards the apex. Start applying some throttle just as the start of the inside curb disappears from view. You don't need to hit that inside curb, instead let the camber of the corner carry you round. Accelerate harder as you start to close in on the outside curb, but try not to use any or too much exit curb as it's pretty violent and can slow you down on the run towards turn 2. Turn 2 is a very fast right-hander, but make sure you don't get too greedy with your entry speed as it can make turn 3 very tight. Follow the left-hand curve on the approach to widen your entry and lift off the throttle just as the left-hand curve disappears. In a full speed time trial or quali run, you shouldn't need to apply any brakes, but you may need to in a race. Just clip the inside curb, but make sure you don't run wide onto the left-hand exit curb. As soon as your car feels straight, hit the brakes ahead of turn 3. And this is a weird braking zone as you'll be positioned in the middle of the track. Apply around 50% brake pressure to avoid locking your front left tyre and shift down to third gear. Aim to get close to the apex early on in the corner and run up and wide through the middle of the turn. Much like turn 1, there are a few lines around turn 3 allowing you to potentially size up and overtake. Through the second phase of the corner, try and straighten your car early to get on the throttle, but try to be gentle. It is very easy to light up the rear wheels and struggle to find traction. Avoid running over the right-hand curb at all costs, as this will slow you down through the fast turns 4, 5 and 6. And these next corners aren't really troublesome. You can remain at full throttle where your car drifts from the right to the left and back to the right again. Try and take the shortest route possible just to straighten your line. Before turn 7, make sure you're on the far left of the track once again. Finding the best turning point can be tricky. I like to aim for the concrete patch on the left of the circuit. As you reach it, start applying some steering, trying to remain steady and smooth. To maximise your speed, you'll want to cut across to the inside, but avoid the skinny curb as this can throw you offline. Then drift out wide to the left and use the curb if needed. The next sequence of corners is probably the trickiest around an entire lap of Zandvoort. Turn 8 is the first challenge and is incredibly tough to judge when to turn in. Again, we're going to aim to be at full throttle, but don't worry if you feel the need to lift slightly during a race. Stay on the far left of the track on the approach and watch for this kink in the circuit. This is when I recommend turning. You can be quite aggressive with your initial input, but remain stable once you've found the perfect angle. Try to cut the inside curb aggressively to shorten the turn and carry a good amount of speed. Then immediately drift out wide to the left of the track ahead of turn 9. You want to be pretty much clear of the left-hand curb before braking, aiming to apply the brakes at around 60-65 metres. To avoid an inside wheel lockup, only use around 40% brake input and try to remain smooth on the steering to keep the car balanced and calm. Slowly trail off the brake pedal while cutting across the track using third gear to help slow the car. As you reach the apex, you should be completely off the brake pedal and starting to accelerate. Again, use the throttle smoothly here to avoid spinning up the rear wheels. When you get to full throttle, aggressively cut across the track to the right hand side. As you reach the 50 metre board, start braking, this time only using around 20% input for a very short burst. Shift down to 4th gear, but try to stay out of 3rd to maximise your mid-corner speed. Follow the left-hand curve of the corner and accelerate gradually but early, using the right-hand curb if needed on the exit. There is a short DRS zone here, so in some cases, especially the first lap, you can line up an overtake into turn 11. While turn 11 does offer a very slim opportunity for an overtake, closing on the car ahead before the start-finish straight is often a high percentage move. Stay on the left side of the track and watch for the start of the left-hand curb, as this is the perfect place to brake. Use 100% brake pressure here as we slow aggressively for the awkward right-hander. You'll want to shift down to third gear ahead of the apex and hop over that inside curb. As you bounce over, apply a very small amount of throttle before braking slightly for turn 12. Only use a really small amount of input and stay in third gear here. Follow the inside curb closely all the way around the turn while accelerating early, and by the time you've straightened your car you should be at 100% throttle pressure. Slowly drift over to the left of the track ahead of turn 13, and even if you get a good run out of here, I wouldn't overly recommend sending it down the inside for an overtake. Instead, follow closely through turn 13 and 14, as this can be a more successful route. Brake around halfway between the 50-meter board and the start of the left-hand curb, shifting down to 5th gear on the approach. Try to avoid touching the inside curb as it is deceivingly large and can affect your run out of the corner. And also try not to get too high on the left exit curb. Once you're through turn 13, it's as simple as keeping the throttle planted while following the banking of turn 14 and watching for that DRS line to round out a complete lap of Zandvoort. And that will finish our Zandvoort track guide for F1 24. This is a circuit that I admittedly didn't really like in the past few Formula 1 games, and I think a lot of that was due to the tough corners and braking zones, especially through that middle part of the lap. In F1 24 though, I really enjoy Zandvoort, as a lot of the lap can be taken at full throttle. You do have to manage your braking and turn-in points to really maximise your lap time, and consistency throughout a race is key to success. Much like our other F1 24 track guide videos, I've been using Track Titan to analyse this lap, and they provided the throttle and brake telemetry that you've seen in this video. You can analyse your laps in F1 24 using Track Titan, and it can be used on the console and PC versions of the game. I'll leave a link in the description below to check out Track Titan, and they do have a free membership level if you fancy trying it out. We also have a discount code if you do wish to sign up, and that's Sim Racing Setup. This code will give you 50% off a Plus membership for 3 months. You can also use the code when signing up for a free membership to get unlimited laps for a month rather than the normal 50 lap limit. Now I mentioned it earlier, but Zandvoort does require an unusually high downforce car setup. There aren't too many places to overtake you in a race, with the main pit straight giving you your best opportunity. Using a higher downforce setup can improve your quali position, giving you the advantage of pulling away from others from the front of the grid. I'll leave a card up in the corner and a link in the description below for our recommended Zandvoort car setup F1 24. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're looking forward to Zandvoort this weekend. But for now guys, I'm going to see you on track.